This summer marked the 5th anniversary of the Syrian civil war. It began as an isolated protest against the Assad government. But as Chris Mitchell reports, it split the country, and its impact has been felt all the way from the Middle East to the United States.
This drone footage of the Syrian city of Homs reveals the apocalyptic landscapes the Syrian civil war has created. Barely 5 years ago, Homs was once a thriving city, but now, like much of Syria today, it's either a wasteland or a battlefield. Recently, we talked with Jonathan Spire, Middle East analyst and journalist who reported from the front lines of the conflict, and in a recent article, reflected on the human cost of the war.
I kind of wanted to take a step back and just really focus on that, on just the extent to which, human beings inside Syria, on all sides, have suffered in the course of this war. Nearly 10 million people made homeless, almost half the population, or pre-war population of Syria having left their homes, maybe 400,000 people dead. The sheer magnitude of what's happening in Syria, it's something that I think needs to get across.
While the world's media focused on the war at one time, much of their attention has turned elsewhere. Yet the brutal war goes on and on.
I think it's important to remember is that this war, is nowhere close to finishing. We had, of course, the ceasefire coming in this year on February 27th. It held for a while, but it's now, conclusively broken down, and fighting's taking place across the country once again.
The conflict produced a wave of refugees that is changing the face of Europe.
And that's causing enormous strain on European societies who are not necessarily well prepared to receive those newcomers or who don't wish to receive those newcomers.
Spire believes the war is a wake-up call to the U.S.
Syria, I think, is kind of an example of what happens when America is not involved close on the ground, when America isn't kind of around with its allies to keep some semblance of order, to keep that security architecture in the region, to deter enemies, to make sure the bad guys stay out. Then what you get is things like the Syrian civil war.
He also believes the war helped give birth to ISIS.
Absolutely. Without the vacuum that opened up as a result of the Syrian civil war, it's very hard to imagine how that Islamic State in Iraq, that became the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, could have got itself back on its feet.
The war also provided an historic opportunity for Russian President Vladimir Putin to dramatically increase Russia's presence in the Middle East. As the war drags on with no end in sight, its impact will likely still be felt, not only in the region, but beyond as well. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.